All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Kadash, and the Heavenly Father. The true name is Yahweh, and His unbegotten Son Ba'Hashem, and name Hamashiach Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashon Kadash Luton. And I say Barak Thumbs to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim Wa'akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a sit-down lesson of the prophecy updates as of April the 3rd, 2025 on this Thursday noon. And this is a news article from the Jerusalem Post as of April the 3rd, 2025 from the Jerusalem Post staff, and it reads, it says the IAF intercepted Gaza rocket that triggers sirens in Nahal Oz. The Israeli Air Force intercepted a rocket fired from Gaza that triggers sirens in the Nahal Oz at 8:02 p.m. on the Gaza border, the IDF announced Thursday evening. Right, because we've been seeing rising tensions on and off, back and forth throughout the years, as recently between the Hamas going against the Israel Defense Force. Even though Hamas recently, a couple of days ago, announced an extending of the ceasefire, but ever since then, we've been seeing escalation been rising, even if it's been another ceasefire agreement, in principle, once again. So we still going to have the resistance of the Palestinians, the resistance of Hamas going against the Israel Defense Force of a cross-border conflict heating up between the nations. And this is another news article as of April the 3rd, 2025 by the Jerusalem Post staff, and reads, the IDF troops fire at armed groups at Galabar Crossing and West Bank. Right, because that's the resistance of the Palestinians. Because you're going to see more increasing signs of that, the resistance of the Palestinians going against the Israel Defense Force. It says the IDF troop fires at a group armed with a knife approaching the Galabar Crossing in the West Bank, the IDF announced Thursday evening. It says the person was killed and there were no IDF casualties. This is a developing story. Bring out that Luke 21. Matter of fact, 2nd Esdras chapter 9 verse 3. Therefore, when there should be seen earthquakes and uproars people in the world. Right, so we see uproars people in the world. The resistance of the Palestinians going against the Israel Defense Force, and the resistance of the Hamas going against the Israel Defense Force. So those are signs of uproars people in the world. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 15 and verse 15. It says, for the woe to the world and them that dwell therein. 2nd Esdras 15 verse 15. It says, for the sword of destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands. Right, so we see one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands. The resistance of the Palestinians, the resistance of the Hamas, and the pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force. And that's what you call as a prime example of one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands. And we're seeing this around the world as well too, which is only going to continue to increase. 2nd Esdras 15 verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, which we're seeing right now, invading one another. They should not regard their kings nor their princes in the course of action stand in power. Right, so we're seeing these protests and the uproars and the people war, which is only going to continue to increase. And this is the book of Ecclesiasticus 3 and verse 8. It says, in a time to love, in a time of HATE, in a time of war, and time of peace. So we're definitely living in a time of war and a time of HAT as well too, which are increasing. So we're going to see more signs of that. And this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24. Yep, Matthew 24 verse 6. And ye shall hear. Matthew 24 verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right, so we're going to be seeing these increasing wars and rumors of wars, Hamas going against the Israel Defense Force, and the pro-Iranian groups throughout that whole region over there, West Asia, going against the Israel Defense Force. So those are signs of wars and rumors of wars. And all these other nuclear escalations that we're seeing in our world today, which is only going to continue to increase. That's going to increase, show forth more and more modern day wars and rumors of wars. It says, ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet. Matthew 24 verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation. Right, that's what we're seeing. The resistance of Palestinians going against the Israel Defense Force, Hamas going against the Israel Defense Force. The pro-Iranian groups throughout that region, on and off proxy wars and escalations heating up between the nations. So that's what you call nation against nation. You look at that word, it goes into ethnos. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places." Oh, Matthew 24:7, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places." Yeah, I see you did. Yeah, they say somebody posted it to it. Oh, it is. Somebody move up there. So family start a little story. Yeah, we come back from you. I got to do something. Right. Hustle. Mm-hmm. Be around here, bro. Yeah, that's true. See what that man say? He make a hustle, John. Everybody come. Yep. Matthew 24:7, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places." Right, so we're gonna be seeing earthquakes in diverse places, and the nation against nations and kingdom against kingdom. That's what we're seeing. It says Jerusalem warns Damascus of a IAF strikes Syrian targets. The IDF of pressure on Hamas. Right, so that's another sign of wars and rumors of wars. Yep, once again, Matthew 24:7. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom." Right, the Syrian armies going against the Israel Defense Force, the pro-Iranian groups, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps going against the Israel Defense Force. As you had, I would say yesterday, you had the Israel Defense Force using airstrikes over there at Damascus. So we're going to see more on and off proxy wars and escalations between the nations, especially if a cross-border conflict throughout that whole region. The Syrian borders and the Lebanon borders, throughout central Israel, southern Israel, throughout Tel Aviv, throughout the Gaza Strip, throughout the Palestinian territory, throughout the West Bank. So it's going to be cross-border conflicts between the nations. And that makes perfect sense because we're seeing modern-day nations against modern-day nations, modern-day kingdoms against modern-day kingdoms. And we're going to see the increasing famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places on top of that as well, too. Matthew 24:8, "All these are the beginning of sorrows." Right, so all these biblical signs of the Heavenly Father showing us these just the increasing beginning of sorrows, which is only going to continue to increase and show forth more and more. So once again, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 8. It says, "In a time to love, in a time of HATE, in a time of war, in a time of peace." Right, so we're definitely living in those times. And this is a news article, and I just mentioned this as well too. It says, as of April the 3rd, 2025, by Reuters, and it reads, "Israeli strikes hit south of Damascus state news agency says." It says the Israeli strikes hit Katwash, south of the Syrian capital Damascus, a state news agency report on Thursday. Israel stepped up airstrikes on Syria overnight, declaring the attacks as warning to the new Islamic rulers in Damascus, as it accused their ally Turkey on Thursday of trying to turn the country into a Turkish protectorate. Yeah, because that goes into that Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. Because you've been having the Israel Defense Force. I mean, you've been having I believe Turkey recently called out the Israel Defense Force, because of their rude behavior and their recklessness. So you're gonna have the Turkish armies going against the Kurdish armies, and then you're gonna have the Turkish armies targeting the Israel Defense Force. So it's a lot of different things that's going on over there in the borders of Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, throughout that whole region over there in Western Asia. As it says again, Israel stepped up its airstrikes on Syria overnight, declaring the attacks a warning to the new Islamic rulers in Damascus, as it accused their ally Turkey on Thursday, trying to turn the country into a Turkish protectorate. Into that Isaiah 17 and verse 1. And this is Isaiah chapter 17 and verse 1. It says, the burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from any city, and it shall be as a royal heat. Right, so we see that in progress, and this is a future prophecy of Damascus, Syria, taken away from any city, shall be as a royal heat, because there's a war zone, torn country over there, and there's definitely a hot zone area up there, because you have the pro-Iranian groups, the proxy groups, and other different nations over there having the clashes at an increasing rate. Now we're seeing that now some more than ever. So definitely this is a future prophecy of Isaiah 17 and verse 1, because you're still going to have the Israel Defense Force using heavy airstrikes over those pro-Iranian groups in that area. Yup, as it says, once again, the Israelis hit south of Damascus state. News agency says the Israeli strike hits the Kiwash south of the Syrian capital of Damascus, the state news agency reports on Thursday. Yep, so that's definitely a future prophecy of Ezekiel. Isaiah 17 verse 1. Water along that aligns with the Ezekiel 38th chapter as well too. Through verse 39, it says Israel Air Force hits Hezbollah group during a southern Lebanese strike. Right, so more signs of wars, rumors of wars. It says Ukraine Air Force, it says Russia launched 39 drones overnight. Right, so we're going to be seeing the Russia-Ukraine situation that's going to heat up as well too. It says major. This is another news article. It says, as of April 3rd, 2025, and it reads from Business News, it says a major global bank warns of a potential dollar crisis. The Dutch bank has raised concerns of a possible erosion of trust in the U.S. currency amid escalation of trade tensions. Right, so we getting closer and closer the downfall of the American dollar, which the greenback dollar, which the nations are not following it and not trusting it anymore. And especially, it makes perfect sense, especially with these latest trade wars been increasing, that the United States putting these economic tariffs on these countries. So that's definitely going to lead to that towards that direction. And that definitely goes into that Revelation the 18th chapter and Jeremiah the 51st chapter, that we will have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. As I reference those scriptures, it says a Dutch bank has raised concern over a possible erosion of trust in U.S. currency, amending the escalation of trade tensions. Right, that's why we're getting closer and closer to this cashless society. This digital currency. That's why we're seeing the nations leaning towards their own form of currency and not trusting in the American dollar, which is the greenback dollar no more. It's not going to be a top currency anymore. So we're seeing increasing signs of that, as a report came out like 2 months ago of that situation. It says a deepening crisis of confidence in the U.S. dollar may be unfolding. The Dutch bank has warned. The caution follows U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of sweeping new tariffs, which have rattled a financial market and intensifying fears of global trade war. It says in a note of clinics on Thursday, citing about the Reuters of George Severglebo, if I pronounce the name right, global head of the foreign exchange research at a German final giant. It says that the major changes in capital flows could destabilize currency markets. Overall messages is there is a risk of a major shift in capital overflow allocations taking over the form of currency fundamentals, and the FX foreign exchange markets moves becomes disorderly. He wrote, the U.S. dollar has dropped sharply this week, following more than a 1.5% against the euro and the Japanese yen, and over 1% against the British pound. The declines come in the wake of Donald Trump's decision to impose tariffs ranging from 10% to 50% on a broad range of imports of dozens of countries, heightening the fears of a global trade war has reportedly spiraled investors into seeking a safe haven asset. So I'm going to leave it at that. And this is the book of St. Mark, chapter 3, verse 24. Then I'm going to close it out. Yep, this is St. Mark, chapter 3, verse 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, the king cannot stand. Right, so a warning of an economical trade war and the increasing downfall of the American dollar, as we see in the nations leaning towards away from that as a form of their own form of currency. So this is going to be a potential global crisis, as we see in with this economical trade war. So we're going to see economical wars and trade wars between the nations as the United States used the economic tariffs on those nations, which came into effect as of yesterday. It says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, the king cannot stand. That's what we're seeing. St. Mark 3, verse 25. And if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand. St. Mark 3, verse 26. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, cannot stand. And have it in Jeremiah. Yep, this is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 7. Babylon has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. Right, because the nation's been drunken off the ways of Babylon from ancient times all into modern times. It says Babylon has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunk for wine, therefore the nations are mad. Right, so therefore the nations are mad, rise up against her. Jeremiah 51 verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen, destroyed. How for her take bond for her pain is so she may be healed. Right, so there's no healing for her, especially that mystery daughter Babylon. Jeremiah 51 verse 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsaking her, let us go everyone to his own country, for her justice reaches to heavens, lift up into the skies. And this is the book of Revelations, chapter 18 and verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was like with his glory. Revelations 18 verse 2, and he cried mighty, saying with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, is become a habitation of deceivers, and they hold for every foul spirit and the cage of every unclean HATEFEL bird. Revelations 18 verse 3, for all the nations are drunk of wine of wrath for fornication. Right, and still to this day, in the wrath for fornication. And the kings of the earth who had committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth will wax rich to the abundance of her delicacies. Yeah, I'm still to this day. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out of this sit down lesson of the latest of the prophecy updates as of April the 3rd, 2025 on this Thursday afternoon. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Mukarkadash, and Barakatham to the elders and apostles for Akim Akwaf. Until next time, I will say Shalom.